Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English Pod. My name is Marco.
And my name is Catherine, and today we have an advanced media level lesson, so that's the very highest of our levels.
Right, and we're going to be talking about a very popular tradition in North America, a Thanksgiving dinner.
Okay, so Thanksgiving is a very special holiday for Americans, and Canadians also celebrate it.
But on different dates, right? Canadians have it on a different date.
Exactly. I'm not sure what the Canadian date is, but Americans celebrate it at the end of November. The day changes every year because it's a Thursday, but we usually have the day off from work or school, and we all eat together and celebrate the year and celebrate the harvest and celebrate our families and friends.
So this tradition of Thanksgiving, what do you commemorate or what do you celebrate?
Well, we actually celebrate the first harvest that the Pilgrims had when they were right off the boat in New England. So that's the eastern part of America. These people had come from England, and they were trying to find a new land and a new life, and they ended up in the Massachusetts area, and they didn't know how to farm. And they didn't know how to work the land. And so the Native Americans who were living there at the time helped them out, helped them grow corn, helped them find out how to use the land in a productive way. And so when that first harvest happened, everyone was able to grow. It was actually a year after they arrived. Everyone was able to grow corn and food and crops, and then they all shared a meal together to celebrate this wonderful occasion.
Wow.
And it actually helped them survive the winter because most of the Pilgrims, most of the settlers, they died during the first winter. And so this was a really great thing for them.
Wow. That's really interesting. An interesting aspect of history and why this is celebrated mostly, as you say, in North America and Canada, and that's why many other countries don't really have it. But it's a popular get-together, and, well, what you usually have is a turkey, right?
Exactly. So turkey is a very big bird, and they go gobble, 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 gobble. And they have that kind of really red, long kind of thing on their necks and big tail feathers. And they're delicious. But the funny thing is about turkey that there's a chemical in it that makes you very sleepy. Well, not a chemical. There's a protein in it that makes you very sleepy.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
So the joke is that after you eat dinner on Thanksgiving, everyone falls asleep on the sofa.
Well, Thanksgiving meals in the United States are very, very big. They're very elaborate, right? You not only have turkey, but you have pumpkin pie, and you have mashed potatoes and gravy, and just like a table full of food.
Exactly. And it's a way to celebrate, well, to give thanks for all the things that you have. And so we like to cook a lot of food to celebrate that. And they're all fall foods. So squash, pumpkin, potatoes, things like that.
All right. So we have a dialogue here. So it's just that. It's a guy who is preparing a turkey dinner and also preparing pumpkin pie, but he's doing it in a very peculiar way. So why don't we listen to the dialogue, and then we'll come back and just talk a little bit about the different terms that he used. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our show. Today, we are going to learn how to cook the perfect Thanksgiving turkey. I will share a secret that I have kept for over 30 years on how to cook the perfect, most mouth-watering, juiciest turkey in the world. Let's get started. First of all, we must bring out our key ingredient, whiskey. You see, the grains used to make whiskey along with the alcohol brings out the flavor of the turkey meat. Let's pour 1 cup of whiskey on the turkey and serve yourself a cup as well. Cheers. That's good 12-year whiskey right there. Okay, back to our turkey. Preheat your oven to 475 degrees Fahrenheit. Now have another cup of whiskey. Now that the oven is hot, we place our bird on a rack inside a roasting pan. Let's add some whiskey to give it some extra flavor. And let's have another cup. That hit the spot. There we go. We can leave it in there for the next 45 minutes. In the meantime, let's have another sip of whiskey and start with our delicious pumpkin pie. Lightly whisk together 2 eggs and the extra yolk in a large bowl. Once that's ready, we can put sugar, spices such as cloves, grated nutmeg, and cinnamon with some cream and dark rum into a saucepan. Slowly bring up to simmering point, stirring occasionally. Now you may notice that we are using some dark rum in this pie. This is because the richness of the pumpkin is beautifully enhanced by the dark rum. So to celebrate this great occasion, pour yourself a glass. Cheers! Now that we have finished with the filling, let's bake the pie for 45 to 50 minutes until the filling has puffed up around the edges and the center is almost set. All done. A cup of rum to celebrate the completion of this great Thanksgiving dinner. After waiting for an hour and having a couple of drinks, it's time to check on our turkey. Take the turkey out of the oven. Pick the turkey off of the ground. Don't worry, it will add flavor to this recipe. Now also remove the pie from the oven and serve while still hot. Cheers and happy Thanksgiving! All right, we're back. So I think this is going to be one great Thanksgiving dinner for him.
Oh my gosh. And talking about this is making me so hungry. This always happens when we have food lessons.
What about, do you have any family members who actually drink a little bit too much during Thanksgiving?
Yes, and I won't say who.
All right. So as he was preparing the Thanksgiving dinner, he mentioned a couple of things. For example, a mouth-watering turkey.
Mouth-watering. So this is a way to say appetizing. You know when you see something delicious on TV and
Your mouth
starts to water. You're salivating. That means that your brain is telling you that you want to eat it.
Right.
And so your mouth starts to water. So we say that something that's very appetizing, something that looks like it will taste very, very good, it's mouth-watering.
Mouth-watering. All right, so he was preparing a mouth-watering turkey. So moving on, he mentioned that he had a key ingredient for his turkey, and it was whiskey. Not only whiskey, but 12-year whiskey.
Okay, so the thing about whiskeys is that oftentimes on the label of a bottle, they'll advertise how old the whiskey is because you pay more for older whiskeys. They have better taste in many cases. Well, I guess it depends. But in this case, it's a 12-year whiskey. That means that it was stored in a cask for 12 years to let it age. And then they sell it after 12 years. And so that's the special ingredient.
That's the special ingredient, 12-year whiskey. And well, he not only put it on the turkey, but also he had a couple of drinks himself. And in one of those, he mentioned that hit the spot.
That hit the spot.
What spot?
The spot. Okay, so this is a really common phrase in English that we use to say that something is very satisfying.
So that hit the spot. And not only for drinks, right?
No, you could use it for food or anything, really. So in this case, I could say, oh, I was so hungry, that sandwich really hit the spot.
Okay.
I really needed to eat right now, and that sandwich was perfect.
That was perfect. All right. So that hit the spot. Now, when he referred to the turkey, in one occasion he said, we place our bird on a rack. All right, so what's a bird and what's the rack?
Okay, so this is really interesting. We talk about the turkey oftentimes when we're making commercials or talking about recipes as the bird. So you want to take out the bird, and you want to open the packaging. So the bird is the turkey. A turkey is a kind of bird. You can say this about chicken as well because it's another kind of bird, but this is a kind of a colloquial term in cooking for whatever bird you're cooking.
Right, okay. And when you're placing it on a rack, what's a rack?
Okay, so in our ovens, an oven is it's a kitchen appliance that you have that heats up food. But it's not like a microwave, it's much stronger. And so inside there are metal bars. We don't have, they're like shelves, but they're open. And so these metal bars are called a rack.
Okay.
So you put the turkey in the oven on the rack.
Right. You can't put it on the base of the oven because then it would burn up.
Exactly. And you don't have a shelf because that would be a problem.
All right. And well, moving on the instructions when he was preparing the pumpkin pie, he told us to lightly whisk together 2 eggs. So we have a verb here, to whisk.
To whisk.
So that's not only a verb, but a noun as well, right?
All right.
It's an instrument.
Exactly. And this is a verb we often use with eggs. So to whisk eggs. You can also whisk like sauce for a salad, so like a salad dressing. But it's a way that we stir something. And so oftentimes we have an instrument called a whisk that's not like a fork. It actually looks kind of funny. It's got bars on it.
Like wire that kind of make a circle.
Exactly, and they are very thin wires, and you usually stir very, very, very quickly. Especially if you have eggs, this will break up the egg, and it becomes kind of like foamy.
Foamy, yeah. To make like an omelet, for example.
Exactly. So to whisk is a kind of it's a way to stir.
Okay, and then he mentioned some ingredients such as sugar, spices, and grated nutmeg. So what is this verb, grated nutmeg, or an adjective, grated?
Exactly. So this adjective grated means that, it's a kind of way to cut up something. And so you often hear the term grated cheese. That means not a big chunk of cheese, but we push it against a board to get little pieces of it to fall off. And that's called grated cheese. And so in this case, we have grated nutmeg. That means that it's been the nutmeg comes in
very
pods.
Small pieces.
Yeah, pieces, and we're breaking it down.
All right, very good. And he also mentioned something about bringing the sauce to a simmering point. What is that simmering point?
Okay, simmering point is a time when you're cooking where the liquid goes from being calm to being very agitated and moving.
But it's not boiling, right?
No, boiling means you have big bubbles.
Right.
Like boiling water. But simmering is where it's kind of little bubble. There's a little bit of action on the surface of the liquid, but it's not boiling. It's in the middle between flat and calm and agitated and boiling.
Boiling. Okay, so that's the simmering point. Very good. And that's pretty much all of the interesting phrases in the dialogue. There are a lot more, but we don't really have time to cover that huge amount of rich vocabulary. So why don't we listen to this dialogue one last time? Hello everyone and welcome back to our show. Today we are going to learn how to cook the perfect Thanksgiving turkey. I will share a secret that I have kept for over 30 years on how to cook the perfect, most mouth-watering, juiciest turkey in the world. Let's get started. First of all, we must bring out our key ingredient, whiskey. You see, the grains used to make whiskey along with the alcohol brings out the flavor of the turkey meat. Let's pour 1 cup of whiskey on the turkey and serve yourself a cup as well. Cheers. That's good 12-year whiskey right there. Okay, back to our turkey. Preheat your oven to 475 degrees Fahrenheit. Now have another cup of whiskey. Now that the oven is hot, we place our bird on a rack inside a roasting pan. Let's add some whiskey to give it some extra flavor. And let's have another cup. That hit the spot. There we go. We can leave it in there for the next 45 minutes. In the meantime, let's have another sip of whiskey and start with our delicious pumpkin pie. Lightly whisk together 2 eggs and the extra yolk in a large bowl. Once that's ready, we can put sugar, spices such as cloves, grated nutmeg, and cinnamon with some cream and dark rum into a saucepan. Slowly bring up to simmering point, stirring occasionally. Now you may notice that we are using some dark rum in this pie. This is because the richness of the pumpkin is beautifully enhanced by the dark rum. So to celebrate this great occasion, pour yourself a glass. Cheers! Now that we have finished with the filling, let's bake the pie for 45 to 50 minutes until the filling has puffed up around the edges and the center is almost set. All done. A cup of rum to celebrate the completion of this great Thanksgiving dinner. After waiting for an hour and having a couple of drinks, it's time to check on our turkey. Take the turkey out of the oven. Pick the turkey off of the ground. Don't worry, it will add flavor to this recipe. Now also remove the pie from the oven and serve while still hot. Cheers and happy Thanksgiving! All right, we're back. So Thanksgiving dinner, really popular. Catherine, have you ever cooked, or are you into the whole Thanksgiving feast?
I'm very into it. It's my favorite holiday in America, mostly because everyone gets to celebrate it. It's not religious, so you don't have to worry about other people not celebrating it or not knowing what to do. And it's also a celebration about family and food. And so it's a wonderful experience to have Thanksgiving because you're with everybody. And we always say in America that if someone doesn't have a place to go on Thanksgiving, you should invite them to your house.
That's true.
And so it's a very inviting and warm holiday. And I love cooking, and I love being in the kitchen, and I love having people in the house cooking. And so, yeah, I've definitely been a part of the cooking side of things.
Now, in many movies, they kind of mock this holiday because it's a time where everyone gets together, as you say, no matter religion, creed, or race. And that also causes for a lot of family members to get together and argue and have discussions about politics or talk about family problems and stuff like that. So what do you think of that?
Well, I think it's an exaggeration, but it happens. People get very stressed out during the holidays. They call it the holidays because this is beginning where you have Thanksgiving and then later Christmas. But I personally don't have experience with that really on Thanksgiving because it's such a happy holiday for us. So, and in my family, arguments about politics and history and all that is very encouraged.
Oh, okay.
And so it's just a part of the holiday where we have one person at the table who says this and the other person says this and you're all drinking and it's fun. I look forward to it.
All right, very good. So if you guys have any other questions or doubts about this holiday, because as we say, it's very common in North America and Canada, you can come to our website, englishpod.com. And if you have any other questions or suggestions, you can leave those there as well.
We look forward to hearing what you have to say, and happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English Pod. My name is Marco.
And my name is Catherine, and today we have an upper intermediate level lesson all about money.
That's right. We are going to be talking about money, but most importantly, we need to start saving money. We need to spend less.
Exactly. So in order to control spending, today we're talking about budgeting. So let's take a look at this very important word in today's vocabulary preview.
Vocabulary preview.
All right. So as you mentioned, budgeting is, what is to budget?
To budget, that's the verb. So budgeting is deciding how to spend your money, okay? So that means that we prepare a plan for how to spend money.
All right, so that can be a noun and a verb. A budget is the plan on how you're going to spend money, and to budget is to execute this plan.
Exactly. So today we're budgeting a family's spending. We're trying to control how much this family will spend in the future.
All right, very good. So why don't we listen to this dialogue for the first time? Welcome, Mr. and Mrs. Carnwell. Please take a seat.
Thank you.
So I understand that your family spending has skyrocketed and you want to start budgeting.
Yes, that's correct. Frankly speaking, our household income is relatively high and we have never had any money problems. But I think this is the main reason as to why our spending has gone out of control.
We have 2 kids, and with allowances, paying their credit cards, ours, and not to mention our mortgage and car payments, with the recent economic downturn, my husband's business has suffered, and now we need some advice as how we can prepare a family budget.
I see. Well, you have come to the right place. First, what we need to do is determine your cash flow. Knowing how much money is coming in will help us allocate spending to different categories such as mortgage, education, groceries, etc.
Yes, that makes sense.
Secondly, I need you to bring all of your receipts for the last 2 to 3 months. That way we can determine what your average expenditures are and see which category you're spending money on the most. Usually, your fixed costs are higher and we can't do much about that. But we can usually trim your variable costs, such as entertainment or clothing.
Great! We will do that then. Now how about we treat you to a nice dinner?
That's another thing. If you really want to stop spending so much money, throw away at least half of your credit cards. All right, we're back. So There were some interesting words and phrases in this dialogue related to budgeting and a lot of, financial terms here. So let's get started now on language takeaway.
Language takeaway.
This first term is very important because it tells us what kind of a budget we're talking about. We're not talking about a company here. We're talking about a family.
Right.
And so in this case, we use the phrase household. Okay. So what are we talking about? Household income.
All right. So income, we know, is the amount of money that comes in to maybe your wallet, right? My income, my personal income.
That's how much money you earn.
Okay. So a household income is how much money the house earns. So all the people that are living in this house, right?
That's right. So it could be a family. It could be two married people who are married to each other. So the idea is that it's not one person's income. It's the household income. Think of a house.
All right, so it's the combined income of everyone that's living there or that's making money that lives in this house.
Right, so if Marco and I have a household, I earn $10,000 and he earns $10,000. Our household income is $20,000.
Very good. All right. So then now we know that what our household income is. And in this case, we have children and we give our kids an allowance.
Okay, so I had an allowance when I was a kid. This is the amount of money I got from my parents every week. So I get, I think, $10 a week, and I could spend it on anything I wanted. And I didn't have to work because my parents gave the money to me. Okay. And so an allowance is this money. It's the money that mom and dad give to their children, maybe every month or maybe every week.
Now, it's not only related to children, right? Because maybe if you have a brother or maybe you're married and your wife is a housewife, maybe you give her an allowance, right? Or the opposite. Maybe you're a house husband and you get an allowance from your wife.
That's right. You can have an allowance if you're anyone. You can also have an allowance from your company if you go traveling. So if you have a business trip, your company gives you a food allowance. That's the amount of money you can spend on food. You don't have to work for it. That's the best part.
Awesome. All right. So after these allowances, they were talking about, how the economic downturn has affected their income and their spending.
Okay, so down, you think this is a negative thing. You're right. Downturn means when a situation gets worse, okay, or slows down. And in this case, the economy is what got worse. And you remember this from last year. Things started to get very difficult for people who are in business. And this has affected families. And so we call the situation an economic downturn.
Now, the opposite would maybe an economic boom.
That's right. A boom is when things are going well. That means people are earning more money. There are more jobs.
All right. Very good. And now moving on, as they were talking about budgeting, they mentioned this very important word, very technical, is to allocate money into different areas.
That's right, or allocate spending. This is a verb, to allocate. That means to decide where the money will go. Okay, so as the mother in a family, I will allocate 10% of the money to the children's allowances. That's a lot. 50% to the mortgage, 20% to the car.
Okay.
Car repairs.
So you're allocating your spending.
That's right. I'm deciding where to spend the money.
Okay. And talking about spending, we have this word expenditures.
Expenditures. And so this is a really important word if you're in business as well, because we consider expenditures when we're talking about how much a company earns. Expenditures are things that we spend money on. So remember that word expenditures, spend.
Okay, so an expenditure. And this is a noun, and usually it's in the plural, expenditures.
Exactly, expenditures. So we have many expenditures at my house. Among them, we have the car, the rent, healthcare, things like that.
Okay, perfect. So really good phrases there, really good vocabulary items. Why don't we move on now to Fluency Builder?
Fluency Builder.
We've got some very fun phrases today, Marco, in Fluency Builder. This first one is a very common phrase that we hear in songs and movies.
To skyrocket. All right. What is skyrocket?
Well, you think about a rocket, that's a ship that goes to space. To skyrocket means to go up really high, really fast.
Okay.
The price of gas has skyrocketed. So I remember when I was a kid, gas used to be 98 cents a gallon.
Wow, really?
And in the 2000s, the price skyrocketed, and it ended up being like $4 a gallon.
Yeah, it was really expensive. All right, so this is also, you can talk about sales have skyrocketed, or the price of petroleum has skyrocketed.
So it could be a good thing or a bad thing depending on what you're talking about.
All right. And now moving on, they said that their spending was out of control.
Yeah, so this family doesn't seem to understand how to budget. They spend on everything. And so the accountant says that your spending is out of control. That means that you're spending too much. There's no order to the way that you're
All right.
spending.
And we actually have a previous lesson called Out of Control Spending that we also touched this topic of what we talk about out of control. Something is out of control. A person can be out of control.
Like a child. This child is out of control. He never stops screaming and hitting people.
All right. And our last phrase for today, the accountant says, well, you've come to the right place.
Okay, this is the accountant bragging. He's saying, well, I can fix your problems. I can help you. You've come to the right place. You can use this in many different ways. For example, I have a problem maybe with my TV, and I say, Marco, oh my gosh, my TV doesn't work. I don't know what to do. Can you help?
Right, and I can say, well, you've come to the right place. I can fix your TV.
Marco's an expert
I'm
in
an
electronics.
All right, so you've come to the right place. It's a very common phrase, especially as you say when somebody's trying to brag and say, well, I know how to fix your problems, or I know what you need.
I'm good at this. You've come to the right place. If you want to learn English, you've come to the right place.
Exactly.
Englishpod.com.
All right, so let's listen to our dialogue for the last time. Welcome, Mr. and Mrs. Carnwell. Please take a seat.
Thank you.
So I understand that your family spending has skyrocketed and you want to start budgeting.
Yes, that's correct. Frankly speaking, our household income is relatively high, and we have never had any money problems. But I think this is the main reason as to why our spending has gone out of control.
We have 2 kids, and with allowances, paying their credit cards, ours, and not to mention our mortgage and car payments, with the recent economic downturn, my husband's business has suffered, and now we need some advice as how we can prepare a family budget.
I see. Well, you have come to the right place. First, what we need to do is determine your cash flow. Knowing how much money is coming in will help us allocate spending to different categories such as mortgage, education, groceries, etc.
Yes, that makes sense.
Secondly, I need you to bring all of your receipts for the last 2 to 3 months. That way we can determine what your average expenditures are and see which category you're spending money on the most. Usually, your fixed costs are higher and we can't do much about that. But we can usually trim your variable costs, such as entertainment or clothing.
Great! We will do that then. Now how about we treat you to a nice dinner?
That's another thing. If you really want to stop spending so much money, throw away at least half of your credit cards. All right, we're back. So now talking about allowances. You said you had an allowance when you were a kid. Did you really have a $10 a week allowance?
No, I think it was like 8. It started out at $6 or $5 a week, and then I think the most I got was like 10 or 11.
Oh, wow. So it was like almost about $1 a day.
About that, but usually the point was that, well, I started working when I was 15 because my parents thought it was important for children to learn how money works. But I was given that money because at the time, it was enough money to go out one night. So on Friday nights, if I wanted to go out with my friends, I could go out to watch a movie and get a slice of pizza, and $10 was enough. Okay. Now $10 doesn't even buy you a ticket to the movie, but at the time it was more than enough.
So this is important, I guess, because different families have different ways of upbringing their children, and in many cases this doesn't happen, right? If I want to go out to the movies on a Saturday, then my parents will give me $30, and if I want to go out next weekend, they'll also give me money. So it's interesting to see the contrast, because obviously when I was a kid also I didn't really get this opportunity of going out all the time, and actually I had to work for it. So if I wanted to go out on the weekend, I would get an allowance, but also I would have to wash the car. That was typical with my dad. I had to wash the car.
Well, I think it's interesting because it shows that the parents want to teach their children about budgeting. Because if you only have $10, you really have to budget. You have to decide how you will allocate that money, even though it's not very much. So in some ways, it's good practice.
Yeah, it is. I think it's done us well. We're not in debt.
Not yet.
All right, so let us know how allowances work in your country, or maybe did you have an allowance when you were a kid? A lot of people didn't have an allowance. I know a lot of friends didn't get allowances. So come to our website, englishpod.com, and if you have any other questions or doubts, please leave them there as well.
We hope to hear from you. Until next time. Bye. Everyone.
The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
Rise rapidly, as in price. Skyrocket. Beyond the ability to direct the actions of something. Out of control. Plan the way to spend money in order to save more. Budget. Assign. Allocate. To be honest. To say it directly. Frankly speaking.
Let's try that faster.
Assign. Allocate. Beyond the ability to direct the actions of something. Out of control. To be honest. To say it directly. Frankly speaking. Plan the way to spend money in order to save more. Budget. Rise rapidly, as in price. Skyrocket.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Skyrocket. The ratings for this TV show have skyrocketed in the past month. Skyrocket. Her popularity skyrocketed after she won the competition. Skyrocket. The company's profits skyrocketed with their new advertising campaign. Out of control. I really need to learn how to budget because my spending is out of control. Out of control. Her anger was out of control when she learned that they had killed him. Out of control. His driving was out of control. Budget. My roommates and I really need to start budgeting the money we spend on food. Budget. Her family has started to budget the money they spend on shopping. Budget. He needs to start budgeting his time better. Allocate. The teacher allocated tasks to different students. Allocate. I need to allocate my study time between my different courses. Allocate. He allocated the prize money to different charities. Frankly speaking. Frankly speaking, you should break up with him. Frankly speaking. Frankly speaking, the government is just trying to get away with raising taxes again. Frankly speaking. To be frank, I don't think this is a good decision.
Welcome back, English learners. My name is Marco, and I'm joined here by the lovely
Erica.
And today we're going to be bringing you another great lesson, one of the lessons that you requested.
Yes, that's right. Actually, Maxim S requested this one.
Right. I think he's really into research and investigation, so we're bringing you a great lesson about this topic.
Okay, so I'm really excited to hear this dialogue all about research. So why don't we start listening to two university professors discussing an important question.
We've been over this 1,000 times. The data is irrefutable. Look, we've done extensive research, built studies, and read the literature, and there is conclusive evidence to support my theory.
Horowitz, I beg to differ. Even in your most recent study, the investigative approach was flawed. You know as well as I do, the collection of data was not systematic, and there's a large margin of error. To draw a definitive conclusion based on that data would be misleading.
That is preposterous.
You are trying to single-handedly solve one of the world's greatest mysteries, and yet you're oblivious to the fact that you're wrong.
I am not wrong. The chicken came first.
No! The egg came first!
The chicken.
Egg!
The chicken.
The egg!
The chicken.
The egg!
All right, so interesting. Which came first, the chicken or the egg?
It's an age-old question, isn't it?
And apparently, they are not going to agree anytime soon.
All right, well, what they can agree about is this awesome language. So why don't we take a look at it now in Language Takeaway.
Language takeaway.
Okay, on Language Takeaway today, we have some really great words, and this first one is really good. Irrefutable.
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 The data is irrefutable.
Okay, so if the professor says that the data is irrefutable, what does he mean by that?
He's saying that you cannot deny it. It is really, really true.
It is really true. There is no way this is a lie.
Exactly.
Okay. Irrefutable evidence, for example.
Yeah, that's a great phrase. All right, so the professor complained that Dr. Horowitz's experiment was flawed.
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 So, flawed. Is that an adjective, a verb, or a noun?
It is an adjective here. Now, when something is flawed, there is a problem with it, right?
Okay,
There's
so
a
it has
mistake.
an error.
Yep.
Okay. So this adjective is a way of saying that his experiment has a flaw.
A mistake.
A mistake.
Exactly.
So flawed is the adjective of a flaw.
Right.
Okay.
Now, the reason that his study or his experiment was flawed is because that it was not systematic.
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 So systematic. That's an interesting word.
Now, I think we can recognize the word system in here, right?
Right?
So when something is systematic, it follows a process.
A certain order.
Yes, a certain system.
Right. So that's basically what systematic means, to follow a certain order, to be more organized, right?
Exactly, yep.
Okay. And what about our next word?
Preposterous.
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 That is preposterous.
I love this phrase.
It usually goes together, right? That is preposterous.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does it mean when I say that?
It means it's absurd. It's ridiculous.
Right. It doesn't make sense. I can't believe you said that.
All right. Well, this is a really interesting phrase, but I think it's a little bit more common when it's used by older people.
Yeah, I don't really see a young person going up to someone and say, hey, that's preposterous.
Yeah, but it is a wonderful phrase. Now, our final phrase for takeaway, oblivious.
Oblivious.
You're oblivious to the fact.
So a person that is oblivious to something.
They don't know, or they're unaware.
Okay, so they ignore maybe the facts, or
Exactly.
they don't see it.
Yeah, you're oblivious to the fact that we're in a recession.
Okay, or he is completely oblivious. You can just say it like that, right?
Yep, he doesn't know.
Okay, so we took a look at some of the great vocabulary we found in the dialogue, but there were also some really good phrases that I think we should look at.
Okay, and let's take a look at those and putting it together.
Putting it together.
You know, Marco, one of the things I love about English is the way that words seem to fit together, like blocks coming together. And here we have a lot of great examples of these words that fit together really nicely. Okay, so why don't we look at those? And our first one now is extensive research.
Extensive research.
Extensive research.
All right, so we know extensive means
A lot.
a lot.
Yeah.
So that's really good when you put it together. Extensive research. It means you have
A lot of research.
you have really studied, you have really looked things up. Okay, extensive research.
Another great research-related phrase here is conclusive evidence.
Conclusive evidence.
Conclusive evidence.
All right, now the first word there, conclusive.
When something is conclusive, you can't argue with it. It's the final decision. All right, well, the professor complained that Horowitz's investigative approach was flawed, right? So this is our next phrase, investigative approach.
Investigative approach.
Investigative approach.
Okay, so I remember the word investigate is a verb.
Yes?
But in this case, it's an
adjective.
adjective.
When something is investigative, it's obviously having to do with
An investigation. So the approach so when he said investigative approach.
just simply the way you investigate
Okay.
the problem.
The way he investigated. Okay. Very interesting. What about this other phrase that I saw? It was really interesting. Definitive conclusion.
Definitive conclusion.
So a definitive conclusion.
All right. Well, again, I think we know the word conclusion, right?
Okay.
So it's a final judgment or decision.
All right.
When something is definitive, you can't argue with it or change it.
Okay, so the conclusion or the final result is final. Like there is no way of arguing it.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right.
Definitive conclusion.
This is some great language. So why don't we listen to it one more time in the dialogue?
We've been over this 1,000 times. The data is irrefutable. Look, we've done extensive research, built studies, and read the literature, and there is conclusive evidence to support my theory.
Horowitz, I beg to differ. Even in your most recent study, the investigative approach was flawed. You know as well as I do, the collection of data was not systematic, and there's a large margin of error. To draw a definitive conclusion based on that data would be misleading.
That is preposterous.
You are trying to single-handedly solve one of the world's greatest mysteries, and yet you're oblivious to the fact that you're wrong.
I am not wrong. The chicken came first.
No! The egg came first!
The chicken.
Egg!
The chicken.
The egg!
The chicken.
The egg!
So, an interesting question. What do you think? What came first, the chicken or the egg?
Well, if you ask me, it was the egg.
It was the egg?
Yeah.
Interesting. What about why did the chicken cross the road?
To get to the other side.
Do you think that's really the reason?
Well, there's a million different reasons, but this is great. I'm glad you brought that up because this is like the classic English joke.
The classic English joke, right? Why did the chicken cross the road? And the answer is always...
Well, there are a million answers. So do you guys know any chicken jokes?
Yeah, why don't you come to our website, englishpod.com, and on the comments section, why don't you leave us your thoughts on what came first, the chicken or the egg, and why do you think the chicken crossed the road?
Research. Research is the process of finding new information, answering questions, and solving problems. It helps people learn more about the world and make better decisions. Research is used in many fields, such as science, medicine, business, and education. Students, teachers, scientists, and professionals all use research to improve their knowledge and understanding. Why is research important? Research is important because it helps people gain knowledge. Without research, we would not know about history, medicine, technology, or the universe. Research helps doctors find new treatments for diseases. Scientists discover new planets. And businesses understand what customers want. It also helps students learn and develop new ideas. Research allows people to solve problems. For example, if a city has too much traffic, research can help find ways to reduce congestion. If a company wants to sell a new product, research can show what customers need. In education, research helps teachers find better ways to teach students. Types of research. Research is done in many different fields and for different reasons. The way research is conducted depends on the goal, the subject, and the methods used. Some research is based on experiments, while others rely on studying past information. Here are some of the main types of research. Scientific research. Scientific research focuses on understanding the natural world, technology, medicine, and human health. Scientists perform experiments, collect data, and analyze results to discover new knowledge. For example, medical researchers study diseases to find new treatments, while physicists explore the laws of the universe. This type of research helps improve medicine, technology, and our understanding of the environment. Historical research. Historical research is the study of past events, people, and cultures. Historians look at old books, letters, newspapers, and artifacts to learn about history. This research helps people understand how societies have changed over time and how past decisions influence the present. For example, researchers study ancient civilizations to learn how they lived, what they believed, and how they built cities. Social research. Social research focuses on human behavior, cultures, and societies. Sociologists and psychologists study how people interact, what influences their decisions, and how societies change. This type of research helps improve education, economics, and social policies. For example, researchers study how children learn in different environments or how people react to advertisements. Market research. Market research is done by businesses to understand customer needs, preferences, and behaviors. Companies collect information through surveys, interviews, and product testing. This research helps businesses create better products, improve customer service, and increase sales. For example, a company may research which colors people prefer for a new smartphone or what type of food is most popular in a certain area. Educational research. Educational research helps improve teaching methods and learning experiences. Teachers and researchers study how students learn, which teaching techniques are most effective, and how technology can support education. This type of research helps schools develop better curriculums and improve student performance. For example, researchers may study whether online learning is as effective as classroom learning. Medical research. Medical research helps doctors and scientists find new ways to treat and prevent diseases. This type of research includes testing new medicines, studying viruses, and improving surgical techniques. It helps save lives and improve the quality of healthcare. For example, researchers work to develop vaccines for new diseases and find better treatments for cancer. Environmental research. Environmental research focuses on nature, climate, and ecosystems. Scientists study air pollution, deforestation, and global warming to find ways to protect the environment. This type of research helps create solutions for clean energy, water conservation, and wildlife protection. For example, researchers study how plastic pollution affects the ocean and how to reduce it. The research process. The research process is a step-by-step way of finding, analyzing, and understanding information. Good research follows a clear process to ensure accuracy and reliability. Choosing a topic. The first step in research is deciding what to study. Researchers choose a topic based on their interests, current problems, or gaps in knowledge. A good research topic is specific, clear, and meaningful. For example, instead of researching climate change, a researcher may focus on the effects of climate change on Arctic wildlife, gathering information. Once the topic is chosen, researchers collect information from different sources. These sources include books, academic journals, websites, interviews, and past studies. It is important to use reliable sources to ensure the accuracy of the information. Government reports, university studies, and expert interviews are considered trustworthy sources. Asking questions. Research begins with a question that needs an answer. This question helps guide the study and keeps it focused. For example, a researcher studying healthy eating may ask, how does sugar affect children's energy levels? Good research questions help researchers find useful information, conducting experiments and surveys. Some research includes experiments, where scientists test different ideas to see what works. Other research involves surveys, where people answer questions to provide data. For example, a scientist testing a new medicine may compare how two groups of people react to it. A company studying customer behavior may conduct a survey to learn what products people like the most. Analyzing data. After gathering information, researchers study it carefully. They look for patterns, trends, and important facts. This step helps them understand what the information means. For example, if researchers collect data on how much exercise people do in a week, they may find that people who exercise more are healthier. Drawing conclusions. Once the data is analyzed, researchers make conclusions based on their findings. They decide what the information tells them and how it can be used. If the research is about a new medicine, they determine if it is safe and effective. If the research is about education, they see if a teaching method helps students learn better. Sharing results. The final step in the research process is sharing the findings. Researchers write reports, publish articles, or present their results at conferences. This allows others to learn from the research and use it for future studies. Sharing results is important because it helps advance knowledge and solve problems. Challenges in research. Research can be difficult because it takes time, effort, and resources. One challenge is finding accurate and reliable information. Not all sources are trustworthy, and some may contain incorrect or biased information. Researchers must be careful and check multiple sources before making conclusions. Another challenge is time and cost. Research, especially scientific research, can take months or years to complete. Some research needs expensive equipment, travel, or large teams of researchers. Funding from governments, universities, or companies is often required. Ethical issues are another challenge in research. Researchers must follow ethical guidelines to protect people, animals, and the environment. For example, medical researchers must test medicines safely, and social researchers must respect people's privacy. The importance of research. Research is important because it helps people find answers, solve problems, and learn new things. It is used in medicine, business, education, and many other fields. Research improves technology, health, and knowledge. It allows people to make better decisions and develop new ideas. Whether studying history, science, business, or social behavior, research helps expand our understanding of the world. By following a clear process, using reliable sources, and analyzing information carefully, anyone can conduct good research. It is a valuable skill that helps students, professionals, and experts improve their work and make a positive impact on society. Challenges in research. Research can be difficult. One challenge is finding reliable information. Not all sources are trustworthy, and some may contain false or biased information. Researchers must check multiple sources to confirm accuracy. Another challenge is time. Research takes a lot of time, especially when conducting experiments or collecting data. Researchers must be patient and careful in their work. Some research requires funding. Scientific research, for example, often needs expensive equipment and laboratories. Researchers must find financial support from universities, companies, or governments. Ethics in research. Ethics in research means following rules to ensure fairness and honesty. Researchers must not lie about their findings or change data to fit their opinions. They must also respect the rights of people who participate in studies. For example, if a researcher studies human behavior, they must ask for permission from participants and protect their privacy. Scientific researchers must also consider the environment and animals. For example, medical researchers testing new drugs must follow ethical guidelines to ensure safety. Research in everyday life. Research is not just for scientists and students. It is part of everyday life. People do research when they read product reviews before buying something, compare different job opportunities, or look for the best travel destinations. Parents do research to find good schools for their children, and doctors research the best treatments for patients. The internet has made research easier. People can find information quickly with search engines, online libraries, and educational websites. However, it is important to check if the information is true and reliable. The future of research. Research is always changing and improving. Technology has made it easier to find and share information. Artificial intelligence, AI, is helping researchers analyze data faster. Scientists are using advanced tools to explore space, cure diseases, and solve environmental problems. Education is also benefiting from research. Online learning, virtual classrooms, and new teaching methods are improving education worldwide. Research continues to shape the way people learn and communicate. Conclusion. Research is an important part of learning and problem solving. It helps people find answers, make better decisions, and improve the world. Whether studying history, science, business, or health, research provides valuable knowledge. By using reliable sources, following ethical guidelines, and asking good questions, anyone can become a better researcher. Research is not just for experts, it is a skill that everyone can use in daily life.
The English Pod Audio Review. Listen to the meaning, then say the vocabulary word.
Correct. Not able to be proved wrong.
Irrefutable.
Very full and complete study to find information.
Extensive research.
Using a careful system or method.
Systematic.
Having errors or mistake.
Flawed.
Crazy, foolish, or silly.
Preposterous.
Unaware or don't know.
Oblivious to.
Way of looking for information.
Investigative approach.
Do something on your own, without help.
Single-handedly.
A final judgment that is not able to be changed. That is final.
Definitive conclusion.
Find out if something is true.
Determine.
Show something to be true.
Indicate.
An argument that is capable of making people believe that point of view.
A compelling case.
A collection of facts that implies or suggests something to be true, but does not prove it.
Circumstantial evidence.
Linked or connected with.
Associated with.
Let's try that faster.
Unaware or don't know.
Oblivious to.
Having errors or mistake.
Flawed.
Find out if something is true.
Determine.
Correct. Not able to be proved wrong.
Irrefutable.
A collection of facts that implies or suggests something to be true, but does not prove it.
Circumstantial evidence.
Way of looking for information.
Investigative approach.
A final judgment that is not able to be changed. That is final.
Definitive conclusion.
Very full and complete study to find information.
Extensive research.
Linked or connected with.
Associated with.
Show something to be true.
Indicate.
Using a careful system or method.
Systematic.
Crazy, foolish, or silly.
Preposterous.
An argument that is capable of making people believe that point of view.
A compelling case.
Do something on your own, without help.
Single-handedly.
Now say the word and hear it in a sentence.
Irrefutable. Look, we have irrefutable evidence that he was the killer. Irrefutable. The facts are irrefutable. Smoking has a negative impact on your health. Irrefutable. The irrefutable truth is that there is a monster living in Lake Erie. Systematic. We need to approach this problem in a systematic way. Systematic. We did a systematic evaluation of the evidence. Systematic. He's a very systematic guy. He's very careful with his work. Neil is oblivious to what's going on around him. Are you oblivious to the truth? I was oblivious to the fact that there was a virus on my computer. Definitive conclusion. We have not come to any definitive conclusions yet. Definitive conclusion. Before you make a definitive conclusion, make sure you examine all the evidence. Definitive conclusion. The researchers failed to arrive at any definitive conclusions. We studied the problem carefully, and we found conclusive evidence of global warming. There's no conclusive evidence that links Diet Coke to health problems. There is conclusive evidence showing that smokers die younger.